Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Hannah and this is Jar of Fireflies. Here you will find videos all about my life as an Orthodox Jewish homeschooling mother of 3. And today we are cooking and getting ready for Shabbat. Okay, so I found out late last night that my husband will not be able to cook very much today. He is going to be able to cook Shabbat dinner tonight, our Moroccan fish, but he's not going to have time to cook lunch tomorrow. So I volunteered. Well, it was either volunteer or not eat. So here we are. Okay, so we talked about what I would make last night, and of course, chicken strips came up because my husband and my kids love my chicken strips. So I will be making that for lunch tomorrow as like our main meat dish. And then I can't just serve one thing, there's gotta be side dishes. But what am I gonna make? First thing that came to my mind was Kugel. I've made a few different kinds of Kugels in the past and the kids always love them. So that's always a good thing if the kids are gonna actually eat the meal that I make. So what is a Kugel? A Kugel is basically a casserole that you bake in the oven and its main component is a starch and there's also eggs and fat. Okay, so that base is usually potatoes or noodles, but it can vary from apples to sweet potatoes to probably pretty much anything. I think there's broccoli kugels, and you can really make a kugel out of anything. And then the eggs are obviously eggs, and the fat is usually oil. So my plans for today are to make a potato kugel, which I have made before, and a noodle kugel, which I have never made before. So this is gonna be fun. And then we'll see if I can't find some other ingredients to make some other kind of a kugel in my freezer. I don't know. I'd like to make something else, but at this point I don't have plans. Okay, it's already about 8:30 in the morning. I have made dessert. I made puppy chow for dessert, Muddy Buddies, puppy chow, whatever you want to call them. So that is ready to go. Okay, let's get to making other things. Before I could get started cooking, my husband came home and he brought with him some groceries with supplies for Shabbat, things for him to cook the fish with, and some chicken per my request to make the chicken strips. So before I got started on anything else, I got to work putting all of those things away. And then I decided to go ahead and arrange the beautiful flowers that he had brought home for me for Shabbat into a vase. He had brought these really beautiful purple hydrangea. Hydrangea are one of my absolute favorite flowers. And these really cool other flowers, don't even ask me what they are because I don't know. But after I put them all together, I just felt like they needed something else. So I grabbed the bouquet of flowers from last week, just kind of whatever was left. A lot of the flowers were really super on their last leg, but some of the flowers were still perfectly good. So I kind of picked through that and added those in with the hydrangea and other flowers, which I do not know what they are called. When I got to these really cool purple flowers, again, don't know what they are, but those right there, I realized I kind of needed to start over because those flowers really needed to go in the vase before I put anything else. So I pulled everything out and started over. But that's okay because this is a super fun job for me and was quite enjoyable. It did not take long before I was really happy with the way that the flowers looked. I moved those over to the kitchen table and then cleaned up this area of the counter so that we could use it for cooking and food prep during the rest of the day. Okay, now I'm ready to get started really cooking, except that I did need to wash that big mixing bowl because that is just the perfect size to use for cooking for me. In the meantime, my husband got started working on the Moroccan fish. So he was there washing some cilantro, and at the same time he was doing a little multitasking. He is roasting some eggplants there on the gas range. So he was just chopping vegetables and preparing the fish and hopping back and forth with flipping around the eggplant and just kind of get things going for him. He had a super busy day at work, so he just needed to kind of get all this done really quickly so that he could get out the door and get on with his day. It is definitely not often that we will both be cooking in the kitchen at the same time, but hey, today was one of those days. So while he was on one side of the kitchen working on the fish and dealing with the eggplant on the stove, I grabbed my favorite little corner of the kitchen and decided to start working on the potato kugel. So I washed about 7 potatoes and then started peeling them. Other ingredients that I grabbed were 2 onions, some canola oil, and 4 eggs. Once I had finished peeling the potatoes, I grabbed a grater and just started grating all the potatoes. I like to use the small size of the hand grater. You could totally use a food processor or the other side. I just prefer this side for the texture. Once I had a potato grated, I would drain the potato out in a colander with a bowl underneath just to drain out some of that water. And I just kind of repeated that through all of the potatoes. Next up, onions. Okay, so I sliced off the top and bottom of the onions, peeled off that top layer, and then I grated the onions on the large side of the hand grater. With my grated onions and grated drained potatoes in a large mixing bowl, I then added 4 eggs. Next, I added 1/3 cup of canola oil, and then some grated pepper, and then a pretty healthy amount of salt. After that, I just grabbed the bowl, started mixing it all together with my hands. I just find that is the easiest way to get this all mixed up. And then I poured it into a casserole dish, which I had sprayed with oil, and just kind of smoothed out the top a little bit before putting it in the oven for 1.5 hours at 350 degrees. Okay, so that potato kugel is in the oven now, and I'm about to get started on the noodle kugel, which, like I said, I have never made before, but I did find a recipe online, so we're gonna see how this goes. And then after that, super stoked, found some frozen broccoli. So if I can get this stuff to thaw a little bit, then I will make a broccoli kugel as well. It's a kugel-palooza. Okay, let's cook. Okay, so to get started on this noodle kugel, I printed off a recipe from the internet and then started gathering my ingredients. I put some water on the stove to boil, and once that was boiling, I added 1 package of gluten-free egg noodles. While those noodles were cooking on the stove, I started working on my other ingredients. So I grabbed a large mixing bowl and added in 4 eggs, 1/2 cup of sugar, 2 teaspoons of vanilla, 2 cups of soy milk, a healthy sprinkling of cinnamon, and then 10 ounces of Tofutti vegan sour cream and 1 package of Tofutti vegan cream cheese. It was kind of funny. I was talking to my husband about this recipe and he goes, "So it's dessert?" And I said, "No, it goes with the meal." And he goes, "I don't understand. You're making a cheesecake." And yeah, basically you're making a cheesecake. I put my prepared noodles into a large casserole dish and then poured the custard mixing on top of that and was ready to put it in the oven for 1 hour and 15 minutes at 350. Okay, so that maybe turned out, maybe didn't, I don't know. I'm stuffing a lot of ingredients there. So that is over there on the counter behind me, ready to go into the oven as soon as the potato kugel comes out of the oven. Okay, so in the meantime, the broccoli is still over there on the counter, so it is not quite ready to go yet. So while I am waiting to put the noodle kugel in the oven, and while that is cooking, I will be working on the chicken. I am just going to be making a ton of chicken strips because I can feed some to the kids later this afternoon, and if we have anything left over, we can eat them next week. Okay, let's do this. Spoiler alert, the noodle kugel turned out extremely well. It was enjoyed by all. It did taste like cheesecake, but hey, it was a big hit. My son in particular really loved it. He probably had 4 or 5 pieces during lunch just by himself. Okay, moving on to the chicken. There is really no secret with the chicken. It's pretty basic. So I just grabbed some chicken breast and I cut it into strips after I cleaned it up just a little bit. And then I got a bowl of egg whites and some gluten-free breadcrumbs. I had 2 different kinds, just kind of grabbed whatever was in my pantry. So then all that I do is I take the chicken strips and I dip them into the egg whites, and then from there I put them into the breadcrumbs and fully coat them, and then I drop them into some hot canola oil and deep fry them. I guess the secret is that I deep fry them because deep frying makes everything better, let's be honest. I flip them over after a couple of minutes and let so that they cook nice and evenly, and then I do drain them on some paper towels. Okay, it is about 1:30 right now and I have been cooking up a storm in here. Okay, so things have come out of the oven and let me show you where we're at now. The potato kugel is finished. It looks perfect. It's gonna be amazing. That's a lot of chicken strips, people. Okay, yes, lots and lots of chicken strips. These are all Cajun flavored. The other style of breadcrumbs I had, we made up some with those as well, and those went to me and the kids to eat for lunch. Okay. These are just with some plain rice crumbs, and these I'm just gonna leave out in case the kids need a snack later. And here is the noodle kugel. Okay, again, I've never made this before, no idea how it's actually gonna be, but it looks like it actually turned out okay. And then here's the fish that my husband made this morning, half salmon, half tilapia Moroccan fish. Okay, oh, and I made that puppy chow earlier for dessert. So I could stop right here, except that I am still thawing that broccoli and I certainly don't want that to go to waste, so I will be making a broccoli kugel later. It's still thawing out right now though, so I am gonna wait just a little bit for that. And I wanna clean up some of the kitchen because right now the kitchen just feels a little bit overwhelming to me. So I'm gonna work on that and then I can get to that broccoli kugel and then, oh gosh, I still have to clean the house. All right, let's do this. Okay, the kitchen's much cleaner now. I'm feeling much better. Let's get started on that broccoli kugel. So this was another new recipe that I had never used before. I have never made any type of a broccoli kugel before. I actually don't do much with broccoli besides steam it because that's how I usually like it. But this recipe could not be any simpler, and I will link to it in the description box below. But as you can see, it is just eggs, mayonnaise, a little salt and pepper, and the broccoli, and then you bake it. You can't get any easier than that. This was like the simplest thing I made all day. It was fantastic. Okay, I feel like things are going really well, but I still have the house to clean. The floor is basically a huge mess. I can kind of ignore pretty much everything else, but the floors have got to get done before Shabbat, mainly vacuuming and mopping. Let's go. Between the cooking and life in general, the floor definitely needed to get vacuumed. I love to vacuum before Shabbat and just go into everything with clean floors. And I could not get away with not mopping today because it'd been raining a lot earlier in the week. So between the dog and the kids playing outside, my floors were just pretty muddy, and I had kind of ignored that because I didn't really see any point in mopping the floors every single day. I just wanted to wait until it wasn't muddy anymore, and then I could take care of the whole thing. Do you prefer to sweep or mop? Because I am starting to feel like vacuuming is not as good as sweeping, but I'm totally not sure. Let me know in the comments. I would love to hear from you. Okay, the house is now pretty clean looking. Really all I have left to do now is get ready for Shabbat myself and set the table. While I've been running around doing all of my stuff today, the kids have been playing outside a lot. They've been taking turns getting in the bath and cleaning up their own rooms. So yeah, I feel like we're pretty much ready now. Okay, the broccoli kugel came out a little bit brown. I might have left that in there just a tad too long, but it's not gonna be burnt. It's definitely not dried out or anything like that, just purely based on the ingredients that you make with it. So we should be good to go there. Hey, time to start those finishing touches for Shabbat. So I took a shower so I could go nice and clean into Shabbat and put on a nice dress, and then got to work setting the table. If you are enjoying this video, please hit that like button. I would really appreciate it, and it helps me know what kinds of videos you guys enjoy seeing the most. And if you have not subscribed yet, please go ahead and subscribe. I would love to see you here again. I felt like today I had not had a chance to sit down at all, but it felt good to work hard towards something that I enjoy so much. I knew that I could go into this really ready to truly rest. At this point in the day, we are less than an hour away from Shabbat, but I have pretty much everything done. Despite the amount of work that I put in today to get ready for Shabbat and get everything done, I never once felt rushed. So that was kind of exciting, just to be able to work hard, but not have that stress or anxiety going along with it. Shortly before he left for evening services, my husband got my candles ready so that they would be ready for me to light to welcome Shabbat, and then he was off to the Beit Knesset for the evening prayers. Oh my gosh, you guys, I pretty much can't even believe that I got everything done today that I had intended. That was awesome. I'm completely exhausted, but Shabbat is starting in exactly 11 minutes, so I'm gonna go ahead and sign off now. You guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in my next upload. So that base, that starch is usually potatoes or noodles. My house is beeping like crazy.